Chiefs Kingdom has started its own history class.
This is a legendary run by a legendary team. You got to enjoy every minute of it.
Let's find a way to
Tagovailoa is in
trouble. Sacked. Pass is caught. Touchdown. Stone Cold gets the big sack.
The Chiefs won a thriller on Monday to remain undefeated on the year. Now on a short week, they'll renew one of the great classic rivalries in NFL history with a divisional showdown against the Denver Broncos. We're 2 hours from kickoff. You've waited all week for this very moment. It's finally here. It is time for football in Chiefs Kingdom. Let's do this. My name is Matt McMullen, joined by voice of the Chiefs, Mitch Holthus. This is Field Pass, presented by StorageMart. And Mitch, for the first time in what seems like forever, we're playing a noon game today.
What is this? Wow. I feel like the breakfast edition of the NFL. This is the way it used to be all the time.
Every week.
But interesting, and to play a noon Sunday game, the first in a long time on a short week. And to me, that's a concern. Overtime game here Monday night. Just felt like it was last night, and lack of recovery time. The Chiefs are going to have to power through this against a good opponent who's improving week by week, last week notwithstanding, but still, this is going to be a power through kind of game.
And we'll get into that. I did look this up, though. We are the last team to play a noon game this season. It's unbelievable. All 31 other teams have played a noon game this year. All the West Coast teams have played a noon game this season, but we have yet to play one.
It's crazy. And by the way, you look good in this gear. It's
Thank you.
Salute to Service gear.
Pretty cool, huh?
And Semper Fi. We're really focusing in on the 249th birthday of the Marine Corps. And so Semper Fidelis, always faithful. Every time I see a Marine, past or present, it's Semper Fi. But we're going to see a lot of Marine Corps today, and we need that Marine Corps toughness to win this game.
We sure do. And how about this weather today, especially compared to last week? It's a beautiful day for football, isn't it?
Incredible, really. So wind swirling a bit, but you look up and there's barely a cloud in the sky. It's just awesome. It's the Chiefs and Broncos at noon. It's the way it ought to be.
It's also a beautiful day to hopefully move to 9-0 on the season. Won't be easy, though, as you alluded to. These Broncos are playing good football this year at 5-4. The main reason why they've been good is their defense. Number 3 scoring defense in the NFL. What stands out to you about this Broncos defense?
That they're tough at all 3 levels. Zach Allen's very underrated as a defensive lineman. Benito, Cooper off the edges. Here's the biggest thing of the day. It is my key to the game in all big font, all caps, italicized. Stay ahead of the chains. It's an old football vernacular. It's a cliche. We can get into it. But Matt Nagy and I were talking about this 27 times this year. Teams have had 3rd and 10 or more against the Broncos. They've only converted 2 of the 27, and they were on runs.
Wow.
If you get behind the chains against this team, it's like putting piranha in your fish tank. Stay ahead of the chains. Stay clean. Get to 2nd and 5, which the Chiefs have done. But 1st and 15, 2nd and 12 is death against this team.
Yeah, what's interesting is they're actually in the middle of the pack of most defensive categories. Not bad, but not elite either. I mean, look, they're 8th in red zone defense, 12th and big plays allowed, 16th on 3rd down. But yeah, they've won by creating pressure, sacks, and negative plays. They have 31 sacks this year, 2nd most of any team in the NFL, and they've forced 63 negative plays, 4th most in the NFL. And they're holding opponents to the 2nd fewest yards per play of any team. And to your point, it's because these opponents are often behind the sticks.
And the fact that they've only, in their 9 games, they've given up 14 points or less. We brag about the Chiefs holding teams down, point totals, 14 points or less in 5 of the 9 games. That just gets your attention. 14 points, not 21, not 28, 14. And so this is a defense that can absolutely suffocate you. You've got to take the fight to them. You've got to hit them, keep them on their heels, because, again, if they get you behind the chains, they can completely wreck your whole day.
And one thing to watch with them is their blitz rate. They blitz a lot. They have the 2nd highest blitz rate in the NFL this season at 35.6%. And sometimes that kind of is skewed. Like sometimes a team will blitz one quarterback a lot, then another quarterback not so much. But that's not the case with the Broncos. They're consistently blitzing the opposition. They've blitzed the opposing quarterback at least 34% of the time in every single game this season. They blitzed Justin Herbert 60% of the time. They blitzed Baker Mayfield 50% of the time. Geno Smith 57% of the time. I go on and on. So bread and butter. But here's the thing. Nobody blitzes Patrick Mahomes.
No.
He's been blitzed at the second lowest rate of any quarterback in the NFL at only 22%. So the question is, what are the Broncos going to do? Are they going to blitz here today? We'll find out.
I think they will. They won't change their MO. We got to give Vance Joseph some credit here, the defensive coordinator. You're going, wait a minute, didn't he play quarterback at Colorado? Yes, he did. But he played defensive back in the league, and he's really built a really nice resume. I know, I'm talking with Coach Reed this week, he really respects Vance Joseph, and Vance is very aggressive. It's not just the blitzes, it's the exotic blitzes. We like to brag on Spags. We like to brag on the Chiefs. You're looking at Amir today. This is going to be like a St. Joseph ones-on-ones because Patrick Mahomes will see some very exotic, nasty blitzes. Pat's going to have to be a fighter pilot today and enter D-Hop. D-Hop becomes a weapon against that if they can be on the same page and getting the hot read, option routes, be the guy in the void because when you blitz, that does put you in peril. Many times you're cover zero. Sometimes you'll zone blitz behind it, but cover zero means man-to-man, and that means D-Hop will get hopefully some one-on-one coverage. And Kels.
I looked it up. So Joseph decided to blitz Patrick 24% of the time across the 2 games last year. We'll see if that stays the same or goes up here in this
Which
game.
is really under his number.
Oh, it is, yeah.
But still,
big time.
He'll pick and choose it. They're effective, man. They're very good on defense.
Let's talk about Bo Nix a little bit. The Broncos rookie quarterback. Kind of a tough start to the year. He had multiple interceptions in each of his first 2 games, but been really solid lately. I think he's shown real growth here in his young career. 8 touchdown passes, 2 picks over his last 6 games. What stands out to you about Bo Nix?
He's getting better every week. That's what's impressive. The other thing is, I told you this, he's 24 years old. He's not your normal rookie. He is 2 weeks older than Nick Bolton.
That's crazy.
Who's in his 4th year in the National Football League. Bo Nix is older than 17 of the Kansas City Chiefs, and Bo Nix is in his rookie year. But he's been better every week. You mentioned the first 2 weeks, no touchdowns, 4 picks. In the remaining weeks, he's had 8 touchdowns and 2 picks. He's accounted for 13 touchdowns, which is tied for the rookies with Jaden Daniels. And we know the year he's having. But it's Bo Nix's ability to run. He has run 58 times. He's got a little Josh Allen in him in the fact that he's powerful when he runs. And so you've got to respect him. He can get out of the pocket and create plays, but this is a quarterback who is in his first year in the league, although he's not young, but he's getting better by the week.
Yeah, you probably wouldn't guess this, but he has the 5th most rushing yards among all quarterbacks this year with 295. He's rushed for 27 first downs this season, 3rd most amongst all quarterbacks, and 10 of those took place on 3rd down. So one of the keys in this game, you cannot let Bo Nix turn maybe a broken play into a big game with his legs.
No, you can, and they'll get some big plays. They have 9 20-plus runs. The Chiefs only have 3. Now, some of those come from Javonte Williams, and you can go down the rest of the crew, McLaughlin and even Estime. I like their rookie running back out of Notre Dame, but it's Bo Nix runs. So you have to stay disciplined. We talk about the Chiefs being disciplined on defense all the time. It'll help to have Mike Dana back and the rotation piece there, but do not let Bo Nix get out of the pocket. He can extend drives and get big plays with his legs.
And the Chiefs' blitz tendencies are interesting here, too. Talked about how often the Broncos blitz. Well, the Chiefs are right behind them, 3rd highest blitz rate in the NFL. Bo Nix has been blitzed a lot this season as well, about 34% of the time. Connect the dots. The Chiefs are going to blitz Bo Nix quite a bit here today, but when they do, got to get home.
Got to get home, and he's big. Again, it's like a Josh Allen. So you can get there, but bringing him down is another deal. The thing that I've noticed is and it's getting, as you might guess, progressive, but Bo Nix is a smart guy. I mean, he played at Oregon and at Auburn, but the ball came out fast. A lot of tunnel screens, quick reads. Your blitzes, think about Brock Purdy here. Your blitzes have to be where it's faster than he can think. They're not giving him a ton of reads right now in his career. Like you might have 1 read or a half read. But where that blitz comes from, and you're right, to get home, because right now his 2nd read is to tuck and go. And so if you don't get home, then he's taking off on those runs. But it's not like he's surveying the field looking at 2 or 3 places to go, even on a hot read on a blitz.
Now, you touched on this. He does have some playmakers on this offense. Javonte Williams, pretty good player, a running back. We know a lot about Cortland Sutton. Who stands out to you among his playmakers on offense?
Mostly Sutton. He does like Troy Franklin, though. It's the
Oregon
Ducks.
Yep.
He's got an Oregon center and an Oregon receiver. More and more, and part of this, like the week-long trends that you see, because you can look at a stat sheet, like we'll look at Stats Pass or other stats, Pro Football Reference, but you really have to look at it sometimes in the context of what's happening week to week, because the stats can get skewed. In this one, Troy Franklin is becoming growing in targets. You can see that the Oregon Duck factor is coming into play. But Mims is good. Same high school as Nick Bolton, Lone Star Ranger out of Frisco. They've got weapons on this team, and then they'll throw to the backs as well.
And they're facing a Chiefs defense here today that's been awesome over the last 2 years. Of course, held 29 consecutive opponents under 28 total points, longest streak for any team in 17 years. A little bit of a bad taste in their mouth, though, after how last week ended. I think they'll be motivated here today. Yeah,
that drive, that 2-minute drive, give Baker Mayfield credit now. He did an awesome job. But when Palmer, the kid from Nebraska, had the catch down, and here you're going, wait a minute, how did that happen? Because that doesn't happen very often. When you look at the 20-plus plays, is what, the Chiefs are the best in the league. They've only allowed 17 of them, but there were too many on that drive. And so people are going, ooh, is that the Achilles heel? Have we found it? We'll see here, because the whole behind the chains thing that the Chiefs are facing also applies to the Broncos. They don't like it. They don't overcome it as well as Patrick Mahomes can. So if you get them in trouble, the other thing is shifting the field. And penalties. One of the overlooked stat for the Chiefs is the third least penalties this year in the National Football League.
Big change from last year.
Now, Sarah Thomas is working the sideline today, and she likes false starts. So be careful of false starts on this crew. But the point is, stay pristine, play what you're doing. Move the field in your advantage and not Denver's advantage if we look at it on a grid, and then stay ahead of the chains. Man, if there is a battle cry for this game, for both teams, it's stay ahead, on schedule, ahead of the chains.
And looking defensively last week, again, not the way they wanted it to end, but last week was also a great example of why football is the ultimate team sport, because the defense didn't get it done, but the offense picked them up in overtime. I thought that was pretty cool.
Yeah, but how many times has it been on the other side? I mean, the Chiefs have a ring because of the other way. And so, but here's the humility of this team. Football teams can be fractured 100 ways, and I've seen it, I've lived it. But this team, you're thinking the defense might get jealous of the offense of getting the walk-off. No. And the offense going, well, wait a minute, the defense has bailed us out like 18 times. No. And that goes back to Patrick Mahomes and his leadership and coaches. This offensive staff and defensive staff, there's no friction between those two. And they're like, hey, we're carrying the day. What are you guys doing? There is zero of that. And it's why this team is 1-1 consistently and can set a record and get a 15th straight win today.
And the offense was ready in overtime. There was no panicking, no pointing of fingers. They were ready for that moment because of all the work they put in up in St. Joe in training camp. And Patrick actually talked about that earlier this week. Take a listen.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, just Coach Reed prepares us for those moments. He prepares us to be in those long drives. We do long drive drill like every day, and it sucks. I mean, it's the best way to say it, but at the same time, it prepares you to be ready for those moments in the game. And I think you've seen this year and in previous years, it seems like we play our best football in the fourth quarter, and it's because we've been preparing ourselves all year long to play our best football then. And games in the NFL are such close margins that every game seems like it goes down to the very end, and I feel like we're the best prepared team in those situations. I don't want to act like it's the hardest for me, but I mean, I know they're hard for a lot of the guys, like the receivers and the tight ends, the O-line, D-line, DBs. I know I'm kind of the motivator. I'm like trying to push the guys through the finish line, but there's not the coach doesn't let you sub out. He makes you go for 15, 18 plays, whatever it is in a row. You might have a water break in there here and there, but it's for moments like this last game, and it's proven. And we've been able to play great football in fourth quarters and into seasons over these last few years, and I believe that's a big reason why.
Let's go, Tranquil. Let's have a game, dude.
All right, great stuff there from Patrick Mahomes. It might seem tedious and repetitive up in training camp, but that work pays off in big games like last week.
We see it in OTAs. I know people harping about it. They did long drive drill in mini camp this year. And the players were like, what? Because it was hotter in blazes. But this is when it pays off. This is like an Olympic athlete training for the moment. And this team hits the moment. And so every bit of training that they do, which is tougher than anybody in the league, pays off when you get into overtime and you've got to drive down and win it with a touchdown, and you have to reach back and find it. This game is a reach back and find it game, because I'm telling you, we're beat up going into a short week against a good opponent that wants to rip our flesh. This is a big deal today, Matt.
So we have the inactives. I'm going to jump into those in a moment. First, I want to talk about our offensive efficiency numbers lately, because I'm a nerd and I think they're awesome. So going back to week 7, that's the 49er game. The Chiefs are 32 of 48 on third down offensively. That's a 67% conversion rate, easily the best in the NFL. Also in that time, we're 11 for 13 in terms of red zone touchdown efficiency. That's an 85% clip. And really at the core of that formula has been Kareem Hunt, who's averaging the most touches per game of any player in the NFL. Who could have said that a few weeks ago?
Oh my gosh, and that's the guy of getting you to 2nd and 5.
Yeah.
3rd and 2. That's what's happened. And then being in the red zone to be able to punch it in there and to not only attack from pylon to pylon, but to go right at the guts of the defense. These guys are 8th in the league in red zone defense, so it'll be hard when you get down there. But the Chiefs they were tied for 28th before this streak in red zone offense. They're 12th.
Crazy.
In 3 games, they've gone from 28 to 12. But it also takes a village to get a team ready in a short week. I think of Rick Burkholder and his staff, Julie Freimeyer, and going down the line, and Tiffany Morton and David Glover. I'm going to leave somebody out. That guys even like coaching video. When you look at Pat Brazil and his crew, they work extra hours, sometimes all night. Travis Hogan working on this field after the Iowa State KU game yesterday. They're just people that have worked unusual, crazy hours. It's like you working the 2nd shift and then have to work the 3rd shift right after it to get this team ready. I'm telling you, if the Chiefs can win today, it's bigger than you think. Don't underestimate this opponent. Don't underestimate how tough it is to win on a short week.
One more quick note just on the negative plays for the Chiefs, how that factors into today's game. The Chiefs have the fewest negative rushing attempts of any team in the NFL this year. If you take out quarterback kneel downs, just 8 negative rushing attempts, and also the 4th fewest negative plays of any team this year. Again, when you're facing a Broncos defense like this that lives off negative plays, that's a big deal.
You must do it, but it's also a credit to the Trey Smith, Creed Humphrey, Joe Tooney, Jawan Taylor's playing his best football as a Chief.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, we've overlooked that. Wanye Morris is, trying to improve and has improved a lot since the Raiders game. But those guys are a reason for that stat that we don't give them a pat on the back if you see them.
Let's jump into the inactives real quick. So no surprises here for the Chiefs. We knew Juju Smith-Schuster was not going to play with that hamstring injury. No Juju for a 3rd straight week. Hopefully he's back for next week against Buffalo, but no Juju here today. The good news is Tershawn Wharton is going to play here today. He was questionable coming in with a knee injury. Tershawn gets like no credit, but he deserves a lot. We talk about how good this run defense has been. He's right in the middle of that. So Tershawn Wharton playing is a big deal. Then also we're getting a couple of players back. Defensive end Mike Dana is active today for the first time in quite a while. Has not played in 3 straight games. Great having Mike Dana back, another very underrated player. And corner Nazeeh Johnson is out of concussion protocol. He is back as well. We're kind of light in the secondary with Jalen Watson on IR, so getting Nazeeh back is a big deal as well.
Big deal because it changes all your nickel dimes, 7 DBs if he's out. And we were perilously thin last week in playing that Buccaneer game. Getting Nazeeh back is a really good thing. Now, he's got a challenge. If he's matched up against Sutton or Franklin, they're taller guys, especially Cortland Sutton, and so Bo Nix is going to throw some fades and go right after Nazeeh.
Looking at the Broncos, relatively clean injury report for them. One player we were talking about earlier who's a really good player is safety P.J. Locke. No injury designation coming in. We knew he'd play, but he is indeed active, has not played the last 2 weeks. He's a thumb injury, though, he's dealing with. We'll see how effective he can be here in this one. Good player.
Good player. Really underrated player on this team. There's no Von Millers, but there's a whole bunch of really good players. If we're going to brag up the Chiefs defense, we need to brag up these guys, and P.J. Locke's right there. Kels. He loves to try to shut down and get into Kels's stuff, much like Justin Simmons did when he wore a Bronco uniform.
Glad he's gone.
Yeah, too. Well, and then he shows up in our life, right? He played earlier this year against us, but for Atlanta. But this is a good Bronco defense. You're going to have to Pat's going to have to be on his game and read those blitzes and be precise. No turnovers today.
It is always a battle between the Chiefs and the Broncos. Going to be a battle here today, but I will say this. The Chiefs have won 8 straight games at home over the Broncos. Let's make it 9 straight today as we aim to go 9-0 for the 3rd time in franchise history. For Mitch Holthus, I'm Matt McMullen. Thanks so much for watching, everyone. Let's go get a victory.